Welcome to the Self Love Uncensored Podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Vanessa McWilliams.
And I'm Amanda Wozni.
And we are self-proclaimed experts in all things self-love.
Here you'll find uncensored discussions about life, living unapologetically, and becoming our best selves. Welcome to today's episode. We are so grateful you're here.
Yes. And my brain evidently isn't working because I just forgot half my lines.
I was like, does she want me to say my name first this time, or I'm just going to wait?
I don't know what happened there. This is called just mom day. Like
my color coded text failed.
You can't even help me with color coded text some days. No. That's how my brain works. No, I think we should call today's episode like just mom day. This is mom brains come to life. We both have I have my family at home. Well, we're not on spring break yet, but just things have happened the way that they've happened, and we've got my whole family at home, so they're barricaded in my basement, been told to be quiet or whatever's gonna happen. And
pretty much here too,
right? Yeah, it's one of those days, but alas, here we are. We're not quitting.
Yes,
we'll just roll with the punches. But
that's right.
Today's episode is really kind of a fun one. We're going to answer some of the questions that we've had. Some of you viewers have sent us in via email and on our social media and such. So first of all, thank you for interacting. And we hit our first goal this week. We have our first 100 downloads, which is amazing.
Yes.
So good. So thank you for that. But Amanda, if you want to start, do you have anything that you'd like to say before we get into it?
No, I don't think so. Let's just dive in. I'm really excited that, we're getting interaction and people are listening and engaging with us. And we love that. We're here to help and to serve. So if you have questions at any time, no matter even if you think that they're stupid or irrelevant or whatever, there's no such thing. Just send them in and we would love to address them on the podcast.
Absolutely. Yeah. And topic ideas and stuff, please send them our way. Guest ideas. If you'd like to be a guest on our podcast, wink, wink, nod, nod, let us know. Absolutely. That's We're looking for it. So okay. Should we start?
Yes.
I'm going to ask you this question because, I think you have more of a routine than I do in this area. So we had this question come in. I don't have a fitness routine down pat yet. What do you suggest I do in order to start?
Great question. Definitely. So the number one thing I think that's important with any sort of fitness routine is finding something that's enjoyable for you. And if you don't know what that is, that's fine. My suggestion to somebody that maybe doesn't even know what they would like to do would be to try a few different things. Like lots of gyms and fitness facilities have trial memberships. They'll have 2 weeks for $20, or maybe you have a friend that already has a membership and they can come in on every Friday for free. Something like that. There's usually a promo to get you in the door. Check it out. And if you're scared to go on your own, don't be afraid at all to ask maybe a friend to go with you. That's how I started. I was scared to restart, and I asked a close friend of mine to come, and she only came to one and never came back, and I never quit going. So all I needed was just that little bit of hand holding on that first day, and get you in the door. The other thing you can do, even if you don't want to try a class per se, lots of facilities will let you come in and give you a tour, let you know what they're all about, let you know about their community and their vibe and the kind of people that they have in there, maybe meet some of their coaches for whatever it is that they teach. But definitely try a few things. Like if you've never done water aerobics and you love swimming, like maybe go try that. Maybe you're a woman and you want to learn a little bit about self-defense. So find a martial arts academy and see if you can drop in for a few lessons. Try boxing, try whatever it is you want. And try a few different things if you really don't know. And then try and find something that feels good and where you really feel welcome. For me, that was a very important part of the place that I go to, and the sport that I do is very community oriented. It's never just one person for themselves kind of thing. And that part has really helped me continue to go back, because it's turned into my social life too. Like it's my fitness routine and it's my training and it's all that kind of stuff, but they're the people that I love most in the world next to my family. So, yeah, that would be my suggestion. Try some new things and see what feels good and what you really enjoy, and then roll from there.
I love it. I love it. And see, I think you and me are super opposite, because going to the gym or going to like somewhere outside of my house freaks me right out. Like
Really?
I'm a basement workout dweller. I like putting on my video, but this is the thing. Like you said, you have to find something that works for you, that you enjoy,
Yes.
because I really struggled for this past couple of months when I've like actually been getting into my routine and actually sticking to it, that to find the videos and find an instructor on a video that I actually like to work out with, even though they're just on the video and they're not engaging with me specifically. I really struggled with a couple of the people that I started their workout programs. And I've just now in the last 2 weeks found one girl that I really, really, really like. And it's actually exciting to go down.
Yes. It's the same thing. You're just doing it through a screen. Like that's that personal connection and finding people that you just like being around, even if even where I go, like my coach is actually from a different gym, and I just get all my programming online through an app. So I'm doing like nothing the same as what anybody else in the building is doing, but that's completely irrelevant because I'm still visiting, we're still interacting, I'm still watching other people accomplish things and helping them, or if they're not sure and they don't know who to ask, they might ask a question. Like it's just very, the community is everything in life everywhere, right? Like your family, your friends, your work, all of it.
Amazing.
All of it is so relevant on people and connection. So
it's so true. And if you're somebody who is like Amanda, who goes to the gym quite often and stuff, if you see someone struggling, offer to help.
Yes.
I wish I had that when
as long as you're
to the gym.
As long as you're, within reason, as long as you're qualified, because that can get irking too. And people that really don't know what they're talking about try and tell you what to do.
Well, even just in the sense of like, if you see somebody new that's like, ooh, I don't know. I'm the kind of person to be like, I'd be like, come over and walk on the treadmill beside me. Let's talk. Let's be friends. Like, that's just who I am.
Yes.
So if I see someone like deer in the headlights, I'm like, come, let's be deer together.
Yes, that's right.
So good. So good. All right. The next one. Ooh, this is a good one. I can relate to this one. So I've noticed that some of my family and friends have been making comments about my new goals that I have, and they aren't always supportive. What do you suggest I do? I love this question.
You can jump in on this one because I got the last one.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So this is what we talked about. I think we've already talked about this on the podcast, about staying in your own damn lane. So I can tell you right now that, like in my life, in my scope of like my friends and who I surround myself with, I have two very different friend groups. I have my friends who are like super goal, like they're goal oriented or orientated. Come on, Vanessa, get it together. Like come on, Vanessa, get it together.
Got something else on the brain there, do you?
Oh man, holy moly, I'm struggled today. I'm a struggle bus today. So I have like one group of friends who are like high achievers and, go for the gold, blah, 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 blah. And then I have another group of friends and, especially my family and stuff, who are very supportive, but they don't have that high achiever mentality, I guess. And they're very much okay with just how things are. And that's great. Like whatever, that's fine. But it's when I'm a high achiever, because I'm always going for something new and something big. I heard this quote a couple of years ago, and I believe it was from, it was on the Oprah show of all things. And I believe it was he was a pastor and I can't think of his name now. It'll come back to me. If I remember it, I'll put it in the comments. But he had said, there's people who live on different levels of life. There's people who are like giraffes and there's people who are like turtles. And the giraffes can see above the tree line, of course, and they can see like a bigger, broader horizon for themselves. Whereas the turtles can only see up until the little brush that's around them. So they don't always see at the scope that the giraffe does. Well, the giraffe is never going to take advice from the turtle. Right. And so I like in that moment when I thought about that, I was like, oh my God, I'm a fucking giraffe. Like, and a lot of people around me are turtles, and it's not a bad thing, but it just reminds me, right? It just reminds me that it's okay that I can think bigger than myself, because I've been training to do this for 11 years. 11 years ago, I was a turtle. 100% a turtle. I just didn't see the capacity of what I truly had to offer and all of the things that I really could actually achieve if I put my mind to doing it. And so when I think about like people in my group making comments about like the new goals that I have or things that I want to go after, a lot of times they'll be like, well, are you sure that you can really go after that? Like my book, for instance, you know, like going after trying to get a publishing agency and an agent and whatever to take over my book, like the chances of that happening are like 1 in 6,000.
Yeah.
Like there is a very high chance I'm not going to get an agent to take on my book, but there's a chance my agent's going to take on my book.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the difference for me where I think like, but there is a chance. It doesn't matter how fucking small or big it is. There's a chance and I want to go after it. Whereas a lot of people in my life are like, well, why are you going to waste your time? Because it's like a 1 in 6,000 chance. But I wouldn't go to those people for advice anyways on anything else because we live on different parts of the spectrum, I guess you could say. And so for me, it's just stay in my own lane. I don't worry about the people on the outside of me. I just worry about what I think I'm capable of. And that's it. Yeah. Even down to my husband, right? Like my husband doesn't do personal development work. And so he's given me the greatest gift, which is room to grow into this version of me, and which is the best version of me so far that I've had. But like, I don't worry, like I worry about his opinion on a lot of things, but when it comes like down to my goals and stuff, I don't worry even about his opinion of things, because if I worried about everyone's opinion of me, I would never grow.
Yeah.
Right. And so I know my capabilities and I do what I can with what I can control in my life. And I mean, I can only do so much to get an agent to take my book on. I can't control if an agent's actually going to pick it up or not, but I can damn well try on my end. And so that's the thing. I stay in my own lane. Right. There was a Michael Phelps meme that came out a couple of years ago about like Michael Phelps was in an Olympic race and you can see him in the lane ahead, so closest to you on the screen. And then his competitor was like a millisecond behind him in the lane behind him. And Michael Phelps was looking forward as he was doing like his mid stride and his competitor was looking at him.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like if you're consistently looking outside of yourself for anything, you're not really going to ever achieve the greatest things you can achieve because you're worried about what's happening or what people are thinking or whatever. Right. So just stay in your own lane. Don't worry about what people have to say. You don't have to be mean about it or anything like that. But I just take it with a grain of salt. I'm like, oh, whenever I get a doubter, I'm like, watch me hair flip.
Yeah.
If I had hair.
It can be really hard though in the beginning for people that are setting goals and having somebody else basically shit on your dreams and say that it's totally unrealistic. So I think it's also a good opportunity to maybe set up some boundaries and exercise them too. And just say like, whether you want to tell them what you're going for or not, just say that like, I'm working on some things and I'd love your support. If you don't have anything positive to say, like I just ask you to maybe not have any input at all. I'm just going to put my head down and work for a little while. And honestly, like the best thing that you can do is control what you can control, which is yourself, your effort, your work, and do the frickin' things and show everybody that you can. And pretty soon they're just going to sit down and shut up and start taking notes.
Yeah.
So,
and the greatest thing you can do for yourself is not tell anybody your greatest, biggest goals. That's one of the things I've learned. Oh, that's one of the things
I feel the opposite.
Oh, do you? See, and that's one of the things I've learned because I've been pooped on quite a bit for especially my book. And I've had a ton of support for it, like tons of support. But yeah, a lot of people have pooped on it. Just the idea of going after an agent for it. And I've learned really quickly that if I really want to go for something really big, keeping it close to myself and not telling absolutely everyone. Like I'll tell my friends, I'll tell the people who I know are going to support it because I need that support, especially when I'm going after something really, really big. But when I don't have the capacity to have people shit on my dream, I just don't tell those people. I don't owe anybody anything about my dreams. And that's just it. Like you said, you know, when people doubt what you're doing, do it 10 times harder. And soon the haters are going to be lining up asking you how you did it. Right.
Yeah.
And not
and
even
we don't
haters,
mean that,
but
no, we don't mean that in a negative way either. And that's one of those things too, that, I read a really good quote about it recently and I can't think of where it was. So I can't even think to look it up, but
we can't get our poop together today.
No, I know. But like the best way to, usually when you have people like that in your life, like you're thinking to yourself, wow, I wish they would change and just be supportive. Or I wish they would change and I wish they would find some dreams to go after, like alongside me kind of thing. The best way to do that is to do it yourself. Like the best way to bring everybody up to a new level around you is to be the first person to do all those things. You're just going to totally naturally, organically inspire people to be better when you're becoming better yourself and working towards becoming better. So that's a really good way to think of it too. Like you're like a pioneer in your group of people, your family or your friends or whatever. And you're right. Like it pretty soon, you're just going to start to see them. They're going to ask questions. Maybe they're going to start attending events. Maybe they're going to be like, can you tell me about that goal setting thing that you do? Like, how do you do that? How does it work?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, then pretty soon you're going to have everybody on the same page and life's going to be great. So,
yeah. And if there's people who fall away, I've had people in my life who've fallen away since I've grown and stuff. I just think like that's just
part of the process.
It is just part of the process. It's sometimes people fall away when you're in growth mode and that's totally okay. It's just, making room for whatever new is supposed to come into your life. And I think that's the other thing is like losing friendships and stuff while you're doing goal setting and all of the things is, I find now I'm left with the most quality friends out of all the friends that, I still have lots of acquaintances and whatnot, but like my core group of friends has gotten really quite smaller. And it just is life, right? We can't hold on to every relationship. We don't have the capacity to be able to do the big things we want to do and have all of these different relationships to take care of. Right. So I think that's really important too in growth is some people just won't get it and fall away and that's okay.
Yeah. And for some people that might even be as extreme as their family too. If you have somebody that's extremely toxic in your life. Yeah. I mean, family is family and you only do get one of whatever those people are. But if they're that toxic for you, then boundaries and sometimes cutting them out is what's necessary in order to get to the next level. So,
and limiting exposure. I think that's the biggest thing is I've learned is just limiting exposure if you can't cut them out. But I mean, that's a whole other topic. We could have a whole hour podcast on.
Yes, that's right. That's
okay.
Right.
Number 3. We're motoring along.
I'll read this one because I feel like you should answer it.
Sure.
How do I not let anxiety stop me from going for my goals and living the life I want to? So I think if I remember right, the listener that you got this question from basically said like, how do I not let anxiety determine everything in life? Like hold me back. Like it was it was in a negative connotation, correct?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. And I think like I'll preface this with just, I deal with anxiety. I have high functioning anxiety. And it's doubled up with ADD and ADHD, which is such a wonderful combination of mental health stuff because, oh man, I can get stuck in like perfectionism so easy. Like perfectionism, I think is one of the things that I struggle with the most. Yeah. But for me, like I think anxiety, I know I still deal with it. Like I know some days it's still crippling to me where I don't think that I'm going to be able to tame or do the thing that I want to do, like that I've set out for the day. And so I just don't even try and start. And then at the end of the day, I feel like this massive failure because I'm like, fuck, I could have totally been done the thing. And now it wouldn't be eating away at me anymore. And it just gets into like that cycle of crap thinking. Yes. And I call it crap because that's what I call it for myself because I know how I feel afterwards. It's like when you promise yourself you're going to do the workout and then you don't. And at the end of the day, you're like, fuck, I totally could have done the workout. And now I feel gross. And it's not the workout. It's because you didn't keep your word to yourself. But I think like with anxiety in mind, because it is a mental health issue, we have to give ourselves massive grace. So any day that I've gotten really good at calling myself out on this. So if you're new to learning to live with anxiety and learning to go after new goals and stuff, you have to give yourself massive grace. You have to give yourself permission to fail here because perfectionism, like I said, is going to be the ugly beast that's going to rear its head while you're doing this because I know myself, like I said, if I have a goal that I'm going after and I start doing the thing and I don't know how, or I don't know even where to start, I just don't start. I don't start looking for, the answers that can help me that might just be really easy, but my brain just gets into overdrive and I just can't even muster the courage to start it. On those days, I give myself grace because I know that I'm having a struggle day. And I let it go. I'm like, okay, today's just not going to be the day that I do this. I rewrite it in my schedule for a different day because quite honestly, my brain has good and bad days. And I have days where I can sit at my computer and I can do 8 hours of writing my book. Like that's how my book came to be. It wasn't these little bursts of 20 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day. My book was literally sitting down 7 days a week at my computer, and 6 out of 7 of those days, I could not put a sentence together. Like I could not figure out how I wanted to say the thing I wanted to say. And then the one day of the week I'd sit down and I'd be like, oh, here we go. And it's like a download of information. And I couldn't stop typing for 8 hours. Right.
Yeah.
And so on those 6 of 7 days, even though I had a goal that I was going to write 20 minutes, because that's what I did for myself, was just dumb it down. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to start typing for 20 minutes. If it flows, it flows. Great. We'll keep going. If it doesn't, that's okay.
Yeah.
I sat down for 20 minutes, even 10. Like if 20 minutes is too much for you, just think about it, even like a 10-minute little start, do something, right?
Yeah.
See if it flows. But the biggest thing for me is that I've got to the point where I can tell for myself when I'm legitimately not getting it, or something's happening with my anxiety versus me bitching out on the thing and just not wanting to do it and call it anxiety. Right. Which is so like, you have to start doing some sort of work and set some kind of small goal for yourself and just start learning about your brain and just start learning about you and how you live life with anxiety. Because even now, I've talked about this openly before, like I still have anxiety about going out of the house without my hat on into general public. I still have that anxiety, but now I've got to the point where I've figured out what that is. I know my trigger. I know the root of the pain behind it. And now I'm actively working on it. And so I think that's really important, is to figure out what your trigger is when you're doing the work. And there's always going to be all these different triggers, right?
Yeah.
But figure out what that trigger is for you and then start exploring that and giving that trigger love and start like dissecting it and figure out where that came from and all the things. And then once that trigger no longer becomes a trigger for you and you're able to move past it, then okay, if it comes up again, okay, anxiety's back. I'm going to do the thing, and we're going to, give yourself grace to fail if you need to, step back if you have to, but then also have the grit to be able to, from the work that you've done, to know that you can push through if you have to, and make sure you push if you can. That's been my greatest thing with dealing with anxiety in life, is figuring out when to give myself grace and when to push.
Yeah.
Because
I think it sounds to me, so I don't have a whole ton to add here because anxiety is not something that I've struggled with or been diagnosed with, because like anxiety is something, if you feel like you have it, you should see a mental health professional for sure and get a diagnosis. Yep. Some people can manage it. Some people need medication for it. That's perfectly fine.
Totally fine.
But what it sounds like to me, what I got out of mostly what you said was that like there's certain things that have to get done in a day for like your personal life, your family life, your job, whatever it is, your goals, if you're chasing goals. And it's really important to create some structure there and give yourself some time for all of those things. And just having that consistency maybe would help mitigate some of what, rather than letting everything fall on you and be at the end of the day and like, oh, I forgot to do this. Oh, I forgot to do that. If you know that, like, I get up and I work out, and then at 10, I have to sit down at my computer and I have to write for my book. And at noon, I need to eat lunch. And at 2, I need to remember to have a glass of water. Yeah. If you can kind of create some structure throughout your day and give your brain things that it expects, I feel like that sounded to me like that helps you mitigate when you set yourself up for the expectation of, these are the things we're going to try and do. We're going to show up. We're going to try. If we can't do them, whatever, we'll push them off till tomorrow. If they absolutely have to get done, we're going to show up together and we're going to push through.
Totally. Well, and I can't speak for everybody, but I have the one trick that I figured out for myself is I have anxiety, whereas I'll start to think about the things. So like for my book, for instance, when I started writing it, I didn't just think of the book, like just writing the book. Like my brain went straight to, oh my God, people are going to read my book and then they're going to have an opinion over my life. And then they're going to fucking hate me and they're going to figure out that I'm a fucking fraud and like all of the things,
analysis or whatever it's called.
Analysis paralysis. Yeah. And like doomsday thinking. That's me. Like I think of like, we're going to do a podcast. And then all of a sudden my brain, this was when I was thinking about doing it alone. And I was like, oh my God, but then people are going to think I'm such an idiot because I'm not going to be able to like hold a conversation for an hour by myself. And then they're going to think this, and then it goes to like doomsday. Right. And so that's the other trick for myself is like, think about, okay, I'm going to rewind the tape and I'm only going to worry about what's happening right now in this moment, not about the rest of the day.
Yeah.
And think about the one thing. So our podcast recording today is the perfect, both of us, or the perfect example. Both of us have families at home. Shit could hit the fan. The whole recording could be our kids screaming at each other in the background. But for me, it's like, okay, what is the actual worst thing that could happen with this episode? What is
we have
like,
to edit it out.
We have to edit,
Big deal.
or we just don't air this recording. Right.
Yeah.
And we just figure out another day this week that we do it that's better for us. Like instead of thinking, you know, the doomsday, oh my God, people are going to think we don't have control over our kids and we're horrible parents and no one's going to ever listen to us again. You know, instead of going to that doomsday thinking, I stop myself in the process of getting there and I rewind and think realistically, what's the worst that could happen if you want to think that way? But alternatively, what's the best thing that could happen if I try to do this thing that I'm really scared to do?
Yeah.
What is right? Like we could maybe be the number one best show on podcast. I don't know how that works, but maybe like that could happen. Right.
Yeah.
Here's hoping we have our first 100 downloads. So that's the way I also think about it. But that comes with a lot of training your brain.
Yeah.
And I think that just goes into me as a person of living my value of kindness and love and loving myself is just, I've been able to switch my brain over the years from thinking of the negative. And then as that happens, going into the positive. Right. So I think it's just starting, just try something new, give yourself massive grace and figure out what your triggers are. And any other questions, send them our way.
Yes.
110%.
That's right. We'll do our best.
Okay. I'm going to give this one to you. What is your biggest struggle with loving yourself? This was one I got and I thought, ooh, this is a good one.
Yeah, it is a good one.
What is your biggest struggle with loving yourself?
My biggest struggle is definitely just silencing that voice that's in the back of my mind. And it's something that everybody struggles with. Like, I think the best way that I've ever heard them described is negative tapes, or like a tape they just play over and over and over and over. And we touched on this, I think it was in the last episode, about how many negative thoughts you have a day, right? And they're the same small, like they're not like 60,000 different negative thoughts. They're the same ones over and over and over and over and over and
There's
over
like
and over.
5 core ones that we believe about ourselves. Yep.
Until you believe them so much that you can't believe anything else. And I think that the biggest struggle to learning how to love yourself is to find the opposite thing to say to yourself, and then remembering to use it and say it actively enough that it gets louder than the negative voices, because the negative voices don't ever go away. No. You just need your positive voice that's inside your head to be able to shout over top of the negative shit that you're telling yourself. Yeah. And some days the negatives win, like they just do. And like you said in the answering the last question, like some days you aren't going to show up and you're not going to win, and you just need to give yourself grace and rest and just whatever, sit with the icky shit and wake up and try again tomorrow. Right. But I think for me, that's my biggest struggle, and it will be forever, is to get to the point, if possible, where my positive tapes always outweigh my negative tapes, because the days that the positive side yells louder at me than the other side are the days that I win.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely. I'd say my biggest struggle with loving myself is imposter syndrome. is like feeling like I haven't done enough. And that goes into like all that negative, I call it the itty bitty shitty committee that lives in the back of my brain, that are always ready with their little pitchforks to tell me how much of a horrible person I am or whatever. Right. And I think that for me is the imposter syndrome, is just that I'm not ready enough yet. I'm not good enough yet to do the things, to teach the courses, like I never graduated high school. So who's ever going to, pay me as a coach to help them change their lives? But it's like, when it comes down to it, I am, right. Like, it's just that imposter syndrome to think like, or that if I was to ever say something or do something, that it's like, people are going to figure out I'm a fraud. That's my other big thing. Right. But it's like, but in reality, how the fuck am I a fraud? You know what I mean? Like, I have changed my own life. I have done the fucking work. I know it works because I was the number one person who hated themselves the most on the planet. Right. And I've changed that for myself through everything that we teach, that we've done the work on ourselves with. Right. Like, but I think that that's my biggest struggle, is just the imposter syndrome, feeling like a fraud. And that just is all that itty bitty shitty committee.
Well, it's funny because that literally is the negative tapes. That's just you saying you're not good enough. You're not qualified. You're not 100%. Smart enough. You're not whatever.
Right. And then here I am like, you are good enough. You're worthy. You're enough. You know what I mean? You're beautiful. And that's where like the imposter syndrome, like the fraud part comes in, right? Because I know that. I know we all are, but then it's like still that tape in the back of my mind. Right. So we all struggle with that 100%.
Yes.
Ooh, here's one for you, Amanda. Do you still have days when you don't love yourself?
Absolutely.
100%.
I think we just touched on that. Those are the days where that voice wins. And that's normal. Like, you're not gonna get through every day with sunshine and rainbows. Like, some days freaking suck. Some days are hard. Some days you're going to show up and you're going to fight and you're barely going to make it through by the skin of your teeth. And other days you're going to show up and you're going to fight and you're going to lose.
Yeah.
That's just part of the journey. And like, that comes back again to when you fail, like, that's where you grow. And on those days where you're not winning and where that voice is outweighing everything else and you feel like you're losing, you're still growing.
Totally. 100%. Anytime you're trying something new, you're growing. Even when you're failing, fail fast. I think we already covered this in one of our other episodes, that I think if anytime you're trying something new, do it fast, fail fast, because the quicker you fail, the quicker you get to figure out what's actually working. Right.
Yeah.
I know myself, I do still have days where I look in the mirror and I'm like, ugh, I don't ever wish, and this is a big distinction for me, is I don't ever wish that I had hair. I don't ever wish that my body looked different. I don't ever wish for anything like that, but I do still have days where I think like, it's hard to live as a bald girl. It's hard to live looking different from everybody else. It's hard to live in a little bit of a bigger body. Like, I'm not plus size, I'm mid size. And it's hard to find, I don't enjoy having to go shopping because it's hard to find pants that, look good with my mom tummy and, tuck in all the things. But then at the same time, it's like, those things really don't matter. So I still struggle with that, is like, I do want my clothes to fit nice. I do want to look good and whatever, but it really doesn't matter in the grand scheme of it. So I think that's also where that fraud feeling comes in, right? Like, I do believe we're all good enough and that we're all beautiful exactly as we are, but I still do have those days where I'm like, fuck, this is hard.
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel like showing up too super kind today, but still doing it. Right.
And I think that's part of what's really cool about our journeys and the way that we try to serve other people, is where we show up and love on people the most is where we're working the most on ourselves, right? Yes. Like, for yourself, it's that. For me, I show up and love hard on people that are busting their ass in the gym and doing everything they can to get better, because that's my journey. That's what really hits my heart. Right.
Yeah.
So
100%. Yeah. And it's funny because there was a meme I saw, and I'm actually going to pull it up. There's a meme I saw on Facebook today and, or on Instagram today. I'm going to see if I can find it. I reposted it because I was like, ooh, it takes grace to remain kind in cruel situations. And I saw that on Instagram today and I was like, that right there is Vanessa in a nutshell. If there was ever a meme about anything, I'd hope that that would be it, because the world hasn't always been kind to a lot of people, not just me. Like, this is not my sob story whatsoever.
Oh, yeah. Everybody's experienced it.
Right. But I choose every day, especially in cruel situations, to show up with a kind heart and not high five someone in the face with a chair like I've wanted to in the past. Some people are really just,
that's another meme. That's a
whole other conversation. But it's really showing up. And that's just it. When I show up kind for others, it leaks into myself. And that's where I start showing up in kindness for myself. Right. That's why I love random act of kindness. Anytime I ever have a really bad day, that's the first thing I do is I go to Tim Hortons or I go to McDonald's or whatever, and I buy the person behind me a coffee, or pay for their order. If it's not like $40, I buy them, I buy their donuts and a coffee or tea or whatever they're getting, because that for me grows. Like, it's just, kindness is where my heart is. Kindness is my soul food. And so that's what I do on really hard days, is I go out and I do a random act of kindness, and it makes my heart, it centers me again. It brings me back to purpose. So we all have those days.
Yes, totally. All right. Final question.
Do you want to answer it first?
No, I'll ask you, because you did the last couple.
Okay.
You can go first.
Okay.
What's one compliment you struggle to accept about yourself? That's such a great question.
Oh, I think we covered this in my episode, but we covered it.
That was your favorite compliment?
Yes. Yeah. Favorite compliment.
They probably got the idea from listening to that one, I bet you.
Oh, I never thought about, look at you, smarty pants. I never thought about that. Thanks for listening and giving us these extra questions, guys. What's one compliment you struggle to accept about yourself? To be totally transparent, it's going to be hard to say. I really struggle with any type of compliment that has to do with my physical body. Any compliment, whether it's, you look really nice today, or you look like you've lost weight. Oh, don't even get me started on you look like you've lost weight. I don't fucking care if you think I look like I've lost weight. That is not something to compliment someone on. Let's just get that out there. But I really struggle with a compliment about my body, about my physical body, because I think just from growing up and just always looking different, I always used to get people that would say fake comments to me. And there's a difference between giving someone a genuine compliment and giving somebody a backhanded compliment. And I used to get backhanded compliments growing up. Yes, all the time. And just from the friend group that I hung out with, and it's really always stuck with me. And I think that was part of the reason why, I started doing the work just with coaching and doing like goal setting work and whatnot, is that I don't ever want to just be my body. I don't want to be the bald girl, right? Like I want people to be like, have you heard of Vanessa? Right? Like, with people not even knowing I'm a bald girl. Like I want what I do in life to be what I'm remembered for, not what I look like. And so, I think that's one compliment I really struggle with, is anything to do about my body, unless you're going to compliment me on my eyes. My eyes are my favorite. So my eyes are free game, but I think anything else, I really struggle with it. But I also have the grace that if somebody is giving me a genuine compliment, and I can usually pick up on the difference between like a compliment and just, wow, you look really great with a shaved head. That's not actually a compliment, but I also give those people grace that, like, thank you for, trying, like whatever. Right. I don't hate whatsoever, but I think that that's the biggest one I struggle with, is just, anything to do with my physical body is a struggle for me. What about you?
It's hard because I mean, so many people try to give compliments because they have the best of intentions, and some compliments just hit us all different because of our own struggle, right? Like you have a physical struggle that is completely out of your control with your hair. So I could see why it would make you uncomfortable to have somebody say something about anything to do with your physical appearance that's not within your control, because you're like, I can't, it's not something that I can, right? Like I used to make fun of for my freckles, and it's like, cool, like I can't fucking change them. Like
I used to get made fun of for my lips.
I didn't draw them on me. Like, frick. kids are so, it's always when you're younger too. Cause I swear I got made fun of that stuff so much in school. And now that I've grown up, I can't even tell you how many times people are like, I'm so jealous of your freckles. I wish I had freckles. Like I've literally heard of people who want to have tattooed freckles because they want freckles.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I've seen some fails on TikTok of freckles. Well, that's just it. And even growing up, I know that I was always teased not only for my alopecia, but because I got big lips. And I remember, so I don't remember who it was in my family, but someone in my family told me, and it was funny because I was maybe like 14. So I was at the age where it was appropriate. But someone in my family one day was like, do you know that most women, like when they're older, will actually have fat taken out of their ass and injected into their face to have lips like yours? Like you have the best lips. And I was like, what? So I always remember that now. If anyone ever makes a comment about my lips, I'm like, I don't have to have fat injected into my lips.
People pay good money for that.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, whatever.
Literally.
But I get that. Yeah. Keep going. Sorry. I cut you off.
Yeah. No, that's fine. That was just like a total little side tangent just on how we perceive compliments and even how we give them. Right. So maybe somebody that's giving you a compliment on your body is very hyper focused on their own body. So that's what they see in other people. So they might not say it out of malice. It might be out of a good place. So
100%.
For me, I think so. I'm literally the opposite of Vanessa because I am focused on my body. I am focused on getting more muscle and getting smaller. So it does not bother me 1 ounce if somebody compliments on it. As you can tell from the episode where we talked about me, because my favorite compliment was related to that.
Yes.
But something that I struggle with, compliments generally make me feel icky in the first place because I'm just always like super awkward, like thank you, I don't know what else to say. I always feel like I want to like compliment them back, but then you're just doing it just for the sake because they compliment, and then it doesn't feel authentic. So anyways, I struggle with hearing people say that I inspire them because I don't feel like, for me, that's a little bit of imposter syndrome probably sitting in there. Like I don't feel like what I've done is that worthy of acknowledgement in that way. It's amazing and I love it, and it totally like fills my heart and makes me realize that like I'm on my right path in life and like where my purpose and my passion more lie with helping other people transform their habits and their lives. But it's still hard for me to like, I like reading it and it feels good, but it still just feels to me like, okay, but why? Like, why, what have I done that's so unique and so different? Like I love them. And I grow from everyone, and I get better at it and get better at accepting it and realizing that like, you know, we all have a story that has value to be told. And all of us do things in day-to-day life and in chasing our goals that will inspire other people. Just that one has never really fully sat with me. I just don't quite get it yet.
It's hard. When I get it, sometimes it's the same thing. It's like, I'm just living my life.
Yeah.
I haven't cured cancer. I haven't done anything really over the top, but that's just it. I think more or less people are, you know, acknowledging the fact that you've gotten really brave and you've done some really hard things.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's the best part about inspiring people is I don't ever go out into the world thinking I'm going to go inspire people today.
Yeah.
I just go out into the world and think, what can I do today that's going to challenge me from yesterday and
get me closer towards my goals?
Yeah. And the, you know, the people that are around me watching, if it inspires them to think bigger than themselves, perfect. Then that's great. That's a really great byproduct of doing something scary and new.
Yeah.
Right. Like, but that's just it. I struggle with that one too, that I don't know. I struggle with that one too.
Imposter syndrome.
Yes.
Totally what
God,
it is.
she's a bitch. Oh, imposter syndrome. We need to name her something.
Yeah. I think we need to do like a whole episode just on that probably.
Oh, yes. Actually, let's put that down for next episode. Episode 9, imposter syndrome. Let's do that.
To a really good audiobook about that actually.
So good. Yeah, it's hard. And it's hard to quiet that voice because when I know for everybody, there's at least 5 little things like you said that just ruminate in your mind over and over and over and over. There's usually 1 or 2 things that really stick and they are a trigger for something. And yeah, that freaking imposter syndrome she is a rearing beast in the back of my mind. And it's hard to overcome that, but that's just it. You just got to remind yourself that it really is just the thought. And it's just that subconscious brain going into overdrive and reminding yourself you have control and just do the thing anyways. I always like to think to myself, like anytime anybody ever doubts me or ever I ever doubt myself, I always think to myself, watch me.
Yeah.
And that motivates me because I'm the kind of person who, if you tell me don't touch that, it's hot, I have to fucking touch it.
Yeah.
I don't do well with people telling me what to do. Right.
Yeah.
Like I have to figure it out on my own. So that's for me. I think to myself, like if my mind starts doubting itself, I'm like, okay, watch me. And then I just get that rebellious.
I thrive on that too.
I'm a rebel.
Like, go ahead and fucking tell me you think I can't, because I am going to knock it out of the park and you're going to stand there with your jaw on the floor.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Competitive. The competitive, ego-driven side comes out there for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
I've always been a rebel my whole life. And maybe that's why I was made to be bald. Who knows?
Maybe.
Fucking knows. Well, do you think we should end it here? Do you have any other questions? I don't see any other ones. We're good?
No. Yeah, I think that's it. If anybody has any more questions, shoot us an email, selfloveuncensored@gmail.com. All of our social media handles will be posted in the details below, so you can find us there too and message us. Hit subscribe, download, leave reviews. We're on YouTube as well if you want to see this in video format. And that's about it. Till next time.
That is about it. Thank you, friends. 45 minutes went by real fast. Holy man.
Our goal is half an hour. We blew it.
Right? So fun. Yes. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your time today, Amanda. Thank you to our families for actually listening and not being in the background like crazy children. Gotta go give our little families hugs and thank yous, and thank you guys for listening. And if you have any questions, please find us on our Instagram, whatever you want, email us, DM us. It's all good. We can keep them anonymous. And that's it. That's all. Love you guys. Bye, Amanda.
Bye.